Hi, very good morning. I'm Dr. Janak Patel. Today we'll be talking about how you interpret T wave and followed by interpretation of U wave. Because T wave interpretation is very important to rule out ischemic and non-ischemic heart disease. So do pay attention. So again repeating, you see only what you look for. You will recognize only what you know and you will remember what you understand. So we'll be talking about T wave today. So I'm Dr. Janak Patel. I'll be talking on a T wave. So T wave is the first upright wave after ST segment, and it is because of repolarization of ventricle. So try to have a look at the more and more ECG and listen to more and more person. You will understand very well, and more you understand, more you will know. So T wave is upright in all and inverted in AVR, V1, V2 and lead 3. In AVR, all complexes, that is T wave, QRS complex and T wave, all are inverted. While in V1, V2, there is a small R wave followed by S wave. T wave may be upright, may be inverted or sometime even biphasic. In lead 3 also, T wave may be flat, T wave may be upright or may be inverted. T wave are usually normal, means normal in amplitude, normal in duration. What are abnormal? If T wave is tall, if T wave is flat, T wave is inverted, or T wave is biphasic. Tall meaning above isoelectric line more than half of R wave amplitude or even more than the R wave height. Or flat means almost parallel with ST segment or we call isoelectric line. Inverted means below the isoelectric line. They are of many different shapes. We'll be showing you all those different shapes. Biphasic means one wave is upright and one second part of the wave is inverted. That is called biphasic. So tall, flat variety, inverted variety or a biphasic variety are abnormal. Whichever T wave is abnormal, look at the shape, look at the base is broad or not, look at the symmetry and look at it is hyperacute and tall or not. Usually these criteria are seen, we say T wave morphology is very commonly seen in case of a tall T wave because you want to differentiate hyperkalemia from acute MI or we call hyperacute MI. If T wave is abnormal, means it is tall, flat, inverted or biphasic, look whether it is localized or generalized. Generalized is also called global. If you see those changes, there are some conditions which will produce generalized T wave changes. And if it is localized, it is in 2 leads or more than 2 leads and in a contiguous leads. If it is abnormal and more than 2 leads and in contiguous leads, usually L2, L3 AVF, lead 1 AVL, lead 1 AVL V5, V6, V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6 or V1 to V6. These are all considered as abnormal and localized T wave changes are usually ischemic and they are characteristic of ischemic heart disease. While global may be ischemic, may not be ischemic. We'll be showing you some of those ECGs also. If there is an abnormal ST segment, meaning ST segment is either elevated or ST segment is depressed, there will be always abnormality in a T wave. So you will have 2 possibilities. There is only T wave changes without any abnormal ST segment, or there is an abnormal ST segment, and whenever there is an abnormal ST segment means ST segment elevation or ST segment depression is always associated with T wave changes. which is usually upright or inverted. While only T wave changes can be tall, can be flat, can be inverted, can be biphasic also. So abnormal ST segment can be associated with inverted or upright T wave or biphasic T wave. And whenever you get ST with T wave, we call that as STT changes. So ST elevation or ST depression with abnormal T wave is always suggestive of ischemic heart disease. So have a look at even ST segment. Tall T wave, I have already told you, characteristic of hyperacute MI or hyperkalemia. Both are very close differential diagnosis. Inverted T wave you will get in stable angina, unstable angina, ischemic heart disease group, in hypertrophy like RVH, LVH with strain pattern, in bundle branch block, RBBB, LBBB, both the T wave will be in opposite direction of QRS complex, and in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy also the T wave will be in opposite direction of a QRS complex. This is very important to differentiate all these conditions because RVH, LVH, bundle branch block, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy are not ischemic heart disease. And to differentiate that, you will have to do troponin level apart from ECG. And you should have a good history, clinical examination, cardiovascular system examination, including auscultation, etc. And troponin will be helpful because if troponin is positive, it is in favor of a STEMI and non-STEMI. And if troponin is negative, it is in favor of unstable angina. It can be there in case of ischemic heart disease, and it will be always negative in all these conditions. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, bundle branch block, LVH, RVH, it will be negative. And even in case of a stable angina also, troponin will be negative. Now what is T wave due to? T wave is because of ventricular repolarization. So whenever the ventricle undergoes repolarization, you get appearance of T wave. What is the direction? T wave is upright in almost all lead except AVR, V1 and V2. In AVR, all complexes are inverted. In V1, V2, you have got a small R wave followed by a deep S wave. And T wave may be upright, may be inverted, or may be biphasic. But in lead 3, it is flat, inverted, or upright. The shape wise, it is asymmetrical. The initial deflection, this initial deflection is always longer than terminal deflection, this terminal deflection. So that's why it is asymmetrical. And height is always less than half of R. So height of T wave in limblets is less than 5 millimeter. In chest lead, it is more than 10 millimeter. So again repeating, T wave may be tall, may be flat, may be inverted, may be biphasic. All these are abnormal. And all these suggest ischemic heart disease or maybe non-ischemic heart disease. In a tall T wave, it can be hyperkalemia. What is non-specific T wave changes? Whenever there is no cardiac disorders, structural or functional cardiac disorders, and still there is an appearance of T wave changes, we call those changes as non-specific T wave changes. And I have already told you in a previous slide that if there is an ST segment change like ST segment elevation or ST segment depression, there is always a T wave changes along with ST segment. It may be upright, it may be inverted, or it may be biphasic. This combined together with ST segment is called STT changes. So now we are dealing with different types of T wave. So this is a repeated slide. Inverted T wave in AVR, V1, V2 and lead 3. It is always less than half the size of the QRS complex. If it is too small or too large, it is abnormal. Too large we call as a tall T wave. Too small we call as a flat T wave. And if it is below the isoelectric line, we call inverted. If one part of T wave is upright and one part of the T wave is inverted, we call biphasic. All these are considered as abnormal T wave. Now to show you a T wave morphology, this is a diagram showing you this T wave is in the direction of a QRS complex, so we call upright. This is below the isoelectric line, so this is called inverted. So you will have to draw the isoelectric line and see the direction of the T wave. If T wave is up above the isoelectric line and in the direction of QRS complex, we always call that as upright. And if it is below the isoelectric line, we call that as inverted. Now these are all the different shapes of T wave we'll show you. So this is normal T wave. You can see that this is isoelectric line. T wave is upright. It is less than half of a QRS complex. This first upslope of T wave is longer than second downslope. We call as asymmetrical. So this is a normal T wave. Now here if you see that this is isoelectric line. The height of a T wave is taller than QRS complex. So this is called tall T wave. And here in this you can see a small deflection is upright and second deflection is below the isoelectric line. So this is upright followed by a negative deflection. So this is called biphasic T wave. And here this is an isoelectric line. This is ST segment and T wave is sharply inverted. This is very frequently seen in intracranial hemorrhage, raised intracranial pressure, and also seen in a subendocardial infarct. And whenever it is parallel to the isoelectric line, it is called as a flat T wave. These are all the different examples of a tall T wave, biphasic T wave, inverted T wave, and flat T wave. And depending upon which lead it is present, we call global, or we use the word generalized T wave changes. And if it is seen in a few leads, which are consecutive lead, we call as a localized T wave changes. And localized T wave changes are always suggestive of ischemic heart disease. Now here there is one ECG strip which is showing you that this is isoelectric, ST segment is isoelectric, T wave is upright. If you see, this is an first part of a T wave and this is second part of the T wave. This is little longer than the second part. It is little asymmetrical and height is less than half of R. When it is less than half of R, it is not a tall T wave. This is a normal T wave. Whenever you see this is an isoelectric line, there is an elevation of a J point. So ST segment is elevated and T wave is upright. So along with ST segment, elevation or depression, there are T wave changes. So this is called ST elevation with T wave upright. Here, ST segment is below the isoelectric line. So this is a J point. So it is below the isoelectric line and see the upslope. This is upslope and then T wave is upright. So always with ST segment changes like elevation or depression, there are always changes in the T wave. We call. Now you can see here that there is a tall T wave here. This is very frequently seen in hyperkalemia or hyperacute MI. Here you can see that there is a repolarization variant. Sometimes you can see in a normal individual, but this will be not characteristic showing you a hyperkalemia or like an hyperacute MI. Here you can see that T wave is sharply inverted. So it is more in favor of an ischemia. Very frequently I have shown you here that this is in favor of intracranial hemorrhage, raised intracranial pressure, subendocardial infarct, etc. In case of a ventricular hypertrophy, we'll see a tall QRS complex followed by a inverted hockey stick mark we call as a strain pattern. If you see this in V5, V6, it is LVH with strain, and if you see in a V1, it is RVH with strain. And in this ECG, you can see that there is this is a J point, this is ST segment with T wave combined together, and QT interval is prolonged. So good number of time you can see a QT interval prolonged along with T wave changes, STT changes. These are called STT changes. These are called STT changes. STT changes. So they are always suggestive of ischemic heart disease. And this is one ECG which is showing you all the different types of T wave and STT changes. Please go through at your leisure time. Now these are what we call as a secondary changes, meaning this is not evidence of ischemic heart disease, but still there are T wave changes. Say like left bundle branch block, right bundle branch block, LVH, RVH, and we call WPW syndrome. Here, 1, 2, 3. These three are broad QRS complex, and along with broad QRS complex, you can see that there is RS-R dash pattern. This will be seen in a V5, V6 with a T wave inversion. While in a V1, if you see RS-R dash pattern with T wave inversion, it is a right bundle branch block. And if you see a short PR interval with a broad QRS with a delta wave on an ascending limb and inverted T wave, it is WPW syndrome, or we call as Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. If there is a narrow QRS and in V6 you see a tall QRS complex with ST segment downsloping with T wave inversion. Similar thing if you see in a V1, this will be RVH, that is QRS complex will be taller, ST segment will be depressed or downsloping with T wave inversion. This is seen in a case of a RVH with strain. Now, we'll be going through the T wave morphology. So, whenever you look at the T wave morphology, look at whether it is peaked or tented. In a normal person, you will see that the T wave, the first part of the T wave is longer than the second part. So that's why this appears like a tented. But if you see a sharp upstroke with a sharp downstroke and both are equal and it is pointed, so we call that as a peak T wave. So whenever there is a peak T wave, and if this interval, that is duration, is less than 4 small square, it will be what we call as a short base or narrow base. And if it is longer, we call as a broad base. So tented, broad base, and whenever it is tented, the first part is longer than the second part, so it is asymmetrical. And with that, if it is taller than R wave, or it is equal to R wave, or even if it is more than 50% of the R wave, or we call half of R wave, we call hyperacute. And whenever all these 4 criteria are met with, that is, if it is tented, asymmetrical, with a broad base, and if it is hyperacute, it is in favor of what we call as acute myocardial infarction, or we call hyperacute MI. But instead of that, if you get a peak T wave like this shape, symmetrical, narrow base, and hyperacute, tall, then R wave, it is more in favor of hyperkalemia. We'll be showing you another slide, and in that we'll be giving you all the differences. So T wave, you must look at the shape, whether it is peak or tented, whether it is a broad base or a narrow base, it is symmetrical or asymmetrical, whether it is tall and hyperacute or flat. You must look at that particular thing. Now this is that particular ECG. Now there are 2 types of ECG here. You can see one ECG, this is V5, V6, and this is another ECG. Now you can see here, this is also tall, this is also tall, taller than R wave. Both appears nearly similar, but you will have to differentiate. These 2 are of different 2 conditions. So now we are going one by one. In this particular ECG, if you look at this is the upstroke and this is the downstroke. If you look from here till this upstroke, this is longer and this is little short duration wise. From here it is almost till here, while this is only 2 small square. This is more than 3 small square, 1, 2, 3, more than 3 small square. So it is asymmetrical, it is tall, it is tented, and this base is broad. If you look at this base, this is narrow. So this is narrow, peaked, short base, and tall. So these 2 are differences. Now this is in favor of what we call as a tented T wave. This is peak T wave. This is showing you a broad base. This is showing you a narrow base. This is asymmetrical because first part is longer than second part, so it is asymmetrical. While here both are almost identical, so we call symmetry. This is tall, this is also tall. This is localized. If we have got a 12 lead, you can see that this is present in L2, L3 AVF or lead 1 AVL, or in case of V1, V2 or V2, V3, V3, V4 or V5, V6. So we call consecutive leads. Well, this is global or we call widespread. The QRS complex invariably will become wide. We'll show you in another ECG. Here it is not clear cut, but we'll show you that ECG. In that, the QRS complex will become wider. This person will very frequently present with a chest pain. Here, the PR interval will get prolonged, will be longer. Then P wave will disappear and QRS complex will become wider and wider. This is classical of STEMI. This is classical of hyperkalemia. You must differentiate these two conditions very clearly. Now, this is a slide which shows you different conditions. So, we have told you the amplitude of T wave in a chest lead is less than 10 millimeter and in limb leads it is less than 5 millimeter. If it is taller than 10 and taller than 5, or we say half of R or equal to R or even taller than R, it is definitely a tall T wave. And you must differentiate between hyperacute and hyperkalemia. These are other conditions where you can have a tall T wave, but usually these are not of significance. In some of the normal variants also you can have a normal tall T wave or we call peak T wave. While T wave inversion is commonly seen in a ischemia, in a healed or old myocardial infarction or a healing myocardial infarction, some of the cases of myocarditis, in RVH, LVH ventricular strain, hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, even in case of a bundle branch block, acute pulmonary embolism. In case of hypokalemia, usually we get a flat T wave followed by a U wave appearance. In digoxin effect, usually we come across a Mustach sign of T wave with ST segment depression. In a non-STEMI and posterior MI, you will get a ST depression with T wave changes. So these are the conditions where you will get a changes. Well, these conditions may or may not, like mitral valve prolapse, anxiety, race, age, hyperventilation, constrictive pericarditis, etc. These are non-specific, may not be of importance. But flat T wave, you will get very frequently in a hypokalemia, followed by a U wave, and you will have a tall P wave. In hypothyroidism, pericardial effusion, cardiac tamponade, in these conditions, you will have a low voltage, you might see electrical alterance, and you will see also T wave changes. In Valence sign, you will have a biphasic T wave along with ST depression in V1, V2, V3, and that is suggestive of a left anterior main artery occlusion, LMC occlusion, or LAD occlusion, that is left anterior descending branch occlusion. It is Valence sign. While in case of a De Winter sign, you will have a ST depression with upright T wave, again in V2, V3, V4, that is again suggestive of a left anterior descending branch occlusion or left main branch occlusion. These are importance. Now you can see here there is a tall T wave. The initial segment is longer than the second segment, so it is asymmetrical. It is taller than R wave. It is tented, and there is a broad base. This is suggestive of hyperacute MI. Hyperacute T wave changes in an MI. Now you can see here, this is a narrow base peak T wave. This segment and this segment is nearly equal, and height is more than R wave, half of R wave. So this is suggestive of peak T wave in case of a hyperkalemia. And along with hyperkalemia, you can have certain changes like what we call as the PR interval will get prolonged, P wave will disappear, QRS complex will become wider, and then QRS complex will merge along with the T wave, and that will produce what we call as a sine wave. Again, you can see here there is a tall T wave here. It is taller than R wave. This is longer than the second half, asymmetrical, broad base in favor of what we call as ischemic heart disease, or we call hyperacute T wave of acute myocardial infarction. You must differentiate this from other condition, that is hyperkalemia. You must differentiate this. This I've already shown you before. You can see here, this is a tall T wave. This is broader as compared to second half. This is taller than R wave, asymmetrical, tall. And if you see a T wave changes in other leads also, we call reciprocal changes. This has to be hyperacute T wave changes, because you don't get reciprocal changes in hyperkalemia. So this is hyperacute T wave of acute MI. Clear? Okay, fine. Now you can see here, there is a tall T wave, nearly symmetrical. This is a peak T wave. This is a peak T wave, right? And there is an ST segment elevation. You can see slight ST segment elevation. ST segment elevation. Now this can be hyperkalemia or hyperacute MI. If you start getting a broadening of a QRS complex, PR interval is getting prolonged, it will be in favor of a hyperkalemia. And if there is an reciprocal changes in other complexes, say you can see here T wave inversion, you can see here T wave inversion, this will be in favor of a hyperacute MI. This is hyperkalemia. You can see as the potassium start increasing, you will have a tall T wave, then PR interval will get prolonged, then P wave will disappear, so you can't measure the PR interval. Then QRS complex will become wider and wider, and there will be tall T wave, which will be both upstroke and downstroke will be symmetrical, and that get merged with widened QRS, and then we call as a sinus wave or sinusoidal wave. This is characteristic of a severe hyperkalemia. It can go into a cardiac standstill, and person can have sudden cardiac death. While in a hypokalemia, you see that there is a little P wave is becoming a prominent. There is a ST downsloping. So ST is depressed. T wave is upright, followed by a second upright wave we call as a U wave. So you will have an appearance of a U wave, which will be in favor of a hypokalemia. You can see the same changes. The P wave has disappeared. You can't have a PR interval. QRS complex has become wider, and there is a peak T wave, which is a peak T wave, symmetrical, taller than R wave, and then it can merge with QRS complex, and this is called sine wave or sinusoidal wave. It is a dangerous sign. Again, you can see here this is a peak T wave, narrow base, symmetrical, and it is taller than half of R. It is hyperkalemia. Clear? I'll skip this particular slide. Now you can see this here very clearly. This is QRS complex is wide, and this is T wave has merged inside. This is called as a sine wave. While here you can see ST segment, T wave is taller, symmetrical, narrow base, taller than half of R wave. This is classical hyperkalemia. So this is a peak symmetrical tall T wave, while this is a sine wave, characteristic of hyperkalemia, and there is no P wave at all, so you can't have a PR interval. Same thing you can see here, almost P wave is gone, broad QRS complex, tall T wave, so you will have a prolongation of a PR interval, then later on the P wave will disappear, and T wave will merge with a wide QRS complex, and then will fall as a sine wave. So this is a tall T wave, slowly the PR interval will get prolonged. Now you can see here, this is becoming broader, and you can't make out a P wave at all. Or you can see this is looking like a P wave. This looks like a T wave. So there is a marked prolonged PR interval. This is QRS complex is wider, and this is a tall T wave. And if you look properly in this particular, there is a wide QRS complex and PR interval is prolonged. This is suggestive of hyperkalemia. Now if you see here, this is almost appearing like a hyperacute MI. Hyperacute MI. But if you look, this is R, S, and this is an ST segment, tall T wave. So if you look here, this is also prolonged. QT interval is prolonged. The PR interval is prolonged. P wave has almost disappeared. And this is a wide QRS complex. Plus, most important part, you can see the changes in lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, AVR, AVL, AVF, V1 to V6. So it is global. So global changes will be less common in case of a ischemic heart disease, while global changes will be seen very frequently in a case of a hyperkalemia. And you see this is a wide QRS complex with T wave almost merging inside. This is sine wave. You can see here, it has almost merged with QRS complex. This is a sine wave. This is a dangerous sign. As the potassium start becoming closer to 9, it is almost dangerous and person can have asystole and person can die suddenly. Now we go to the second part we call as a small T wave or flat T wave, very commonly seen in a hypokalemia, pericardial effusion, hypothyroidism. Now you can see here that ST segment is isoelectric, T wave is almost close to the isoelectric line, and then there is a small upright. This is a U wave. You can see here now ST segment is getting depressed. This T wave is almost merging with U wave, and this is a prominent U wave. It is more taller than even T wave. And here, if you see, this is an ST segment depression. The T wave has disappeared, and this upright is U wave. So when you get this, this is severe hypokalemia, and this will also end up with a asystole, and this is a characteristic of hypokalemia. So flattening or depression of ST segment, T wave become flattened, the P wave is prominent, and appearance of U wave is characteristic of hypokalemia. While in case of a pericardial effusion, hypothyroidism, cardiac tamponade, constrictive pericarditis, you will see a low voltage, and sometimes you can see alternate QRS complex is low voltage and normal voltage, low voltage, normal voltage, low voltage, normal voltage. This is called electrical alterance. So you can have that. This is that already I have explained you in before previous slide. So I don't repeat again. This I have already explained you previously. So as the potassium becomes less and less, it becomes closer to 2.5. You will have U wave appearance with ST segment downsloping and ST segment depression, and T wave will disappear. And there will be prolongation of QT interval. So that is in favor of hypokalemia. Now you can see here, there is a T wave, there is a U wave. You can see this. You can see a better. It almost appears like a two peak. This is T, this is U. So if you see this, and in good number of leads, generalize, always suspect hypokalemia. Here also, you can see ST segment depression, right? T wave has almost disappeared, and this is a U wave. This is U wave. This is U wave. This is U wave. So when you see again a generalized changes, ST segment depression, T wave is not seen. Suspect this as a U wave. This is hypokalemia. We call QU interval is prolonged. Similar thing, electrical low voltage and almost flat T wave. Now you can see electrical alterance, low voltage and flat T wave. Hardly there is an T wave changes seen. Again, you can see a low voltage, almost flat T wave, almost flat to isoelectric line, almost flat to isoelectric line. You can see that. This is again in cardiac tamponade or massive pericardial effusion. Now we'll go to the another part we call as the inverted T wave. Now inverted T wave is normal if it is seen in AVR, V1, V2 and L3. But in AVR, all complexes are inverted. While in V1, V2, you will have a small R wave followed by a S wave, and then T wave will be inverted, maybe upright or maybe biphasic. While in a lead 3, you will have flat T wave, maybe upright or maybe inverted. But if in a inverted T wave, in other leads if you get, it may be because of Hild infarct or because of myocardial ischemia, like unstable angina, or a strain pattern in the case of a ventricular hypertrophy like RVH, LVH. In hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, you can have an inverted T wave along with the ST changes. And in a case of a digoxin toxicity, it can be inverted hockey stick mark like, or we call as a Mustache sign. Now I'll show you different T wave shapes. So T wave inversion you can get in ischemia. You can have in a non-Q wave MI, particularly we call subendocardial infarct or non-Q wave MI, or we call non-STEMI. In that also you can have a T wave inversion along with ST segment depression. In a posterior wall MI in lead 1, V1, V2 and V3, you can have a small R wave with ST segment depression and T wave inversion. Opposite mirror image of V7, V8, V9. Now you will see that in LVH, RVH, bundle branch block and digoxin toxicity, you can have a strain pattern in LVH, RVH. In bundle branch block, it will be in opposite direction of a QRS complex. And in digoxin toxicity, it will be in opposite direction of QRS complex with a shape like mustache. So it is called mustache sign. Now here you can see this is a peak T wave. This is a flat T wave. ST segment is isoelectric. There is a flattening of the T wave and appearance of a U wave. This will be characteristic in case of hypokalemia. Here there is a T wave inversion below isoelectric line. Here there is an ST segment depression along with the T wave inversion. And here if you see ST segment is depressed with T wave upright. All these three is suggestive of ischemia. All these three. While this is suggestive more in favor of a hypokalemia. And when you get a tall T wave, and if it is asymmetrical, taller than R wave, tented wave, you can see this is tented. This segment is bigger than the second segment. So this is in favor of an hyperacute MI. Now here you will see that the T wave is inverted. You can see the T wave is inverted. Can you see the T wave is inverted? Here it is upright and then inverted. This is a biphasic wave. And if you see in lead 1, AVL and V5, V6, there is a tall QRS complex. It is narrow. So this is in favor of a LVH with LVH hypertrophy with inverted T wave, that is LVH with strain. And in a V1, you can see a deep S wave, that is in favor of LVH with strain pattern. Here you can see a deep T wave inversion. This is called a flip T wave, very frequently seen in a case of a central nervous system, that is intracranial hemorrhage or raised intracranial pressure. And sometimes also you can see in a case of a cardiomyopathy also. So do keep it in mind, and it will be a global changes. You can see in lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, AVF, V2 to V6. This is global changes. So do keep it in mind. You can get sometime in a non-cardiac condition like raised intracranial pressure, intracranial hemorrhage also. You can have these changes, and you can have this type of changes, but it will be localized changes in case of a subendocardial infarct. You can see this ST changes, ST downsloping with T wave inversion, and you can see that this is tall QRS complex, narrow QRS complex, and in V1 you have got a deep S wave. This is in favor of LVH with hypertrophy. And in V5, V6 you see a small Q wave. V5, V6 you see a small Q wave in a lateral leads, what we call lead 1 and V5, V6. So this will be in favor of a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Now you see here the T wave is biphasic. First part is upright, second part is negative. Upright, negative. Clearly you can see. And it is only in V1, V2, V3, only in 2 leads, right? So this is valence sign. So T wave is biphasic. It is called Whelan sign, which is suggestive of left main coronary artery occlusion, LMC occlusion, or what we call as LAD, proximal segment occlusion. Again, you can see biphasic T wave, and then this is T wave inverter. This is again in favor of Whelan sign. LAD occlusion, proximal LAD occlusion, or left main coronary artery occlusion. This is again, you can see a flat T wave, or ST segment is flat with T wave upright. This you will see in case of Whelan sign. You can see that this is isoelectric, nearly isoelectric, little upright and then downstroke. This is again in case of a Whelan sign. These are two types. Here there is an ST isoelectric with T wave inversion, we call type 2, and when it is a biphasic we call as a type A. So if you can identify, well and good, but if there is an T wave changes in V2, V3, it is in favor of acute LAD occlusion, proximal LAD occlusion, or LMC occlusion. Do keep it in mind. You can identify. And in this condition, troponin may be negative, and invariably they develop a massive anterior wall infarction. So if you pick up early, you treat them early, you can prevent sudden cardiac death. Now you can see here, there is a isoelectric with T wave inversion. T wave inversion. And along with that, if you see reciprocal changes, see this reciprocal changes, right? This if you get, always suspect ischemic heart disease. This is again a Whelan sign, which is because of left anterior descending artery occlusion. So deep T wave in LAD and LMCA. So do keep it in mind. Here, if you see here, now there is a small R wave, there is an R wave, ST depression with T wave inversion, V1, V2, V3. You can see that even in V4, even in V5. So this is from V1 to V6. Simultaneously, if you see, there is a terminal R wave, and there is an R wave in V1 also. And if you look at the P wave, this is biphasic. This first component is taller than second component. So this is in favor of P pulmonar. If you see here, this is a tall P wave. This is P pulmonar. And if you see in lead 1, there is a S wave. And lead 3, there is a small Q wave with T wave inversion. This we call S1, Q3, T3. With STT changes, this is in favor of acute pulmonary embolism. So we call S1, Q3, T3. Person will have a right axis deviation. You can see there is an S wave here and there is an R wave prominent in lead 3. So this is the right axis deviation with S1, Q3, T3 pattern. And you have got a RVH. This is RVH, terminal R wave. Here R wave is prominent. And here in V5, V6 you can see the S wave. And here there is a strain pattern. So this is RVH with strain pattern. So when you see S1, Q3, T3 plus right axis deviation plus RVH with strain pattern, it is in favor of an acute pulmonary embolism. So again here you can see that there is a T wave inversion, there is a R wave with a T wave inversion. In V5, V6 you will have a small S wave, and in lead 1 you get a S wave. In lead 3 you have got a Q wave and T3 inversion. So we call S1, Q3, T3 plus RAD plus terminal R wave in AVR and R wave in V1 with a strain pattern. It is a right ventricular strain pattern. You will in favor of an acute pulmonary embolism. Do keep this thing in mind. Now there is a digoxin toxicity. In digoxin toxicity, you can have atrial premature beat, ventricular premature beat, paroxysmal atrial tachycardia, variable AV block, ventricular tachycardia, ventricular fibrillation, many more arrhythmias. But if you see a short QT interval with a downsloping ST segment and T wave changes, it is characteristic. We'll just show you that. You can see this is a downsloping with T wave inverted like this. This is very peculiar, and this is called Moustache sign. It looks like this. So this is typically described as a digitalis effect. And whenever you see this with other cardiac arrhythmias, do suspect, and if the person is on digitalis, do try to do a digitalis level and look for potassium level. Again, you can see here, this is a inverted T wave. Now, if you see a T wave changes, see in V2, V3, V4, V5, V6, in all this, plus lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, AVF, except AVR and AVF. What has happened in AVR? The T wave has become upright. It is in opposite direction. This is also in favor of T wave changes. So whenever you get a global, except AVL, all leads are showing you a T wave changes. This is called global T wave changes. And whenever you get a global T wave changes, do look for this condition. Generalized myocardial ischemia, intracranial hemorrhage, raised intracranial pressure, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. We call catecholamine stress test, where there is a release of large quantity of catecholamine, particularly in person who has used cocaine, pheochromocytoma, or stress-induced cardiomyopathy we call Takotsubo, or in case of myocarditis, and also in case of acute pulmonary embolism. You already seen that in acute pulmonary embolism, there is a generalized T wave inversion. You can have this. And whenever you have got all this, you try to look for all these conditions. Don't forget Takotsubo. We'll show you some of the ECG what we have got. Here you can see this is an ECG in a person with an intracranial hemorrhage. You can see a wide T wave inversion. You can see a sharp T wave inversion in good number of leads. V1, V2, V3, V4, you got those changes. And you got even changes in other leads also. Whenever you see this in a person with an unconscious, do suspect intracranial hemorrhage or raised intracranial pressure, where there is no ischemic heart disease. So do keep it in mind. Again, this is in favor of an intracranial hemorrhage. You can see where deep T wave inversion and global. V2 to V6, you can see the changes. Even in lead 2, you can see the changes. Even in AVF, even in lead 3, you have got changes. In AVR, it is upright. Even in lead 1, except in AVL, almost all other leads are showing you a global changes. Even in a raised intracranial pressure, you can have an ST. Here you have got a changes almost in majority of the lead 1, lead 2, lead 3. You can see in V3, V4, V5, V6, and here you have got an ST depression. So again, this shows you widespread ST elevation. Pericarditis like morphology. You can see this is a concave. This is concave. This is concave. So pericarditis like morphology. It can be seen in a raised intracranial pressure. Do keep it in mind. Sometimes we call that as a brain injury. In a ventricular pace rhythm means whenever there is a ventricular pacing, maybe a single ventricular pacing or AV pacing. In AV pacing, you will see two spikes. This is one spike, this is second spike. You can see two spike, and second spike is followed by a ventricular complex, which is a broad complex, and there is a broad QRS with T wave in opposite direction. Whenever you see this, this is called ventricular pace rhythm. This is characteristic whenever a person has got a dual pacing or ventricular pacing. Do keep. If you see two spike, it is AV pacing. If you see single spike, it is pure ventricular pacing. And in a AV pacing, you will have a two spike, or we call atrio ventricular pacing, dual spacing, or sequential spacing. So this is characteristic. This is Takotsubo, also called as stress cardiomyopathy, apical ballooning syndrome, broken heart syndrome, Takotsubo, etc. These are all the different terminology utilized. Whenever there is a sudden stress, there is release of lot of catecholamines, which will produce a stunt myocardium, which appears like this spot, which is utilized for capturing octopus. And this spot is called Takotsubo. So name is given Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, and that is the way it is being described. There are a lot of changes you can get in a Takotsubo. You can have an ST elevation, ST depression, T wave inversion, QT prolongation, or abnormal Q wave. These are all the things which you can get, and even sometime you can have elevated biomarkers, and good number of time it is mistaken for acute myocardial infarction. But whenever you see this in a global, so in an acute stage you will have an ST elevation like this. In subacute stage you will have an ST depression with T wave inversion, sharp T wave inversion, large and deep T wave inversion. And whenever the person goes into a recovery stage, now see there is no Q wave appearance. ST segment will come closer to isoelectric line, but T wave will still remain inverted, and QT interval will again become normal. This is recovery phase. So here you can see an ST segment elevation in a widespread changes V1 to V6. Also you can see in lead 2, lead 3 and even in AVF. So this is a widespread changes suggestive of Takotsubo. Again you can see here, now this is ST elevation in lot of leads. You can see V2, V3, V4, V5, V6 ST segment elevation, and this is in a precordial lead most commonly seen. As it starts healing, ST segment becomes isoelectric and T wave is inverted. You can see ST segment has become isoelectric and T wave is inverted, and this is characteristic of a Takotsubo. Again you can see here sharp T wave inversion in lot of leads V2, V3, V4, V5, V6 plus even you can see in lead 1, lead 2, even in AVF, AVL, and in AVR you can see T wave is upright. It is in opposite direction of QRS complex. So this is also considered as T wave changes. When you get generalized T wave changes and there is a history of a stress, do keep it in mind, Takotsubo. These are also the ECG showing you all those generalized changes of T wave. In a benign early repolarization, mainly in a chest lead, you will see a J point elevation and there will be a small notch that is also described as a small notch or fish hook pattern at J point elevation with a concavity. This is concavity of ST segment elevation with upright T wave, mainly seen in V2, V3, V4. This precordial leads, it is benign early repolarization. As such, as you label benign, this is very rarely produces cardiac arrhythmia and can be life threatening. So do keep it in mind. This is good number of time misdiagnosed as pericarditis, misdiagnosed as STEMI and treated as STEMI. You must keep this in mind and try to differentiate. We'll be discussing in detail when we do STEMI equivalence. This is pericarditis. You can see here there is a concavity and ST segment elevation in chest leads. This will be generalized. You will see also in a limb leads. This is L2, L3, AVF also. There is an ST elevation. And in AVR, you will have a PR segment, depression or elevation with ST changes, ST depression. So whenever you see this global, and this is saddleback type of a saddleback. It looks like a saddleback. So it is called saddleback. And you get in lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, AVF and V5 to V6 global changes with depressed ST segment depression also. You will call that as pericarditis. And in a AVR and V1, you can have a PR elevation and reciprocal ST changes. In Brugada syndrome, in V1, V2, you will have a small R wave, S wave, followed by a chord ST segment. This is a chord ST segment. ST segment is suddenly downsloping with T wave inversion. We call chord ST segment morphology. We call that as the Brugada sign. And this appears like a right bundle branch block, RS pattern. So this is classical Brugada sign. It is a familial disorder and person will develop suddenly ventricular tachycardia with ventricular fibrillation, and invariably person can have a sudden cardiac death. This is a disorder which should be picked up early. If you pick up early and if you put them on an ICD, the person can save the life. So do keep it in mind, this is a Brugada syndrome. Now this is a repetition of a previous slide. You can go through. We have told you all these things. So I've kept this at the end so that it is a revision of a T wave. I don't repeat again. Now we go to the second part we call as a U wave. U wave is a second positive wave after T wave. In a normal person, usually it is not seen, but sometimes it can be seen even in a normal person. And this wave is because of a repolarization of papillary muscle which are present in the ventricles. So that gives rise to a small U wave. But also you can have a U wave in many more conditions. So if you pay attention and if you pick up this U wave, you can identify good number of conditions. You see more and more number of ECG, you will be able to pick up this U wave. So I'll be just going through that. You can see here this is a T wave followed by another positive wave. This is not P wave. So this is a U wave. This is a P wave. And this U wave may be normal or may be abnormal. So it is a small round deflection less than 1 millimeter in size after T wave. And it is in the same direction of a T wave. So if it is in the same direction of a T wave and less than 1 millimeter in size, usually we consider that as normal. And it is because of repolarization of a papillary muscle. In which condition it is abnormal? If it is more than 1 to 2 millimeter or more than 25% of the height of a T wave, it is 100% abnormal. In which condition it is abnormal? Severe bradycardia, hypokalemia, usually we look for this condition, hypokalemia, hypocalcemia, hypomagnesemia. In these two conditions, there is a prolonged QT, or sometime T wave will be followed by a U wave. We'll call that as a prolonged QU interval also. In some cases of hypothermia also you can have a U wave appearance with a Osborn wave. In a raised intracranial pressure also you can have a abnormal U wave appearance. Some cases of LVH, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy and digoxin toxicity. But most commonly seen in a hypokalemia, you must try to rule out this hypokalemia. So there will be disappearance of a T wave, appearance of a U wave. U wave will be taller than T wave. T wave will disappear. There is an ST segment depression. P wave is little taller, and that is characteristic of a hypokalemia. So do keep it in mind. While if U wave is inverted, means it is in opposite direction of a T wave. It is abnormal if the lead with the upright T wave and if it is U wave is inverted. It is characteristic of some of the heart disease, mainly in case of a acute stenosis of LAD or LMCA, and there is an LV dysfunction. You might have an appearance of a U wave. I'll show you some of the ECG. These are all the conditions. Again, you can see this is a normal U wave. In some drugs also, amiodarone, sotalol, quinidine, procainamide, diazopyramide, these are the drugs which are also utilized in cardiac arrhythmias, etc. In some cases of hyperthyroidism also you can have appearance of a U wave. So do keep it in mind. But mainly you must rule out in a case of a hypokalemia. So you can see here, this is ST segment, this is a T wave, and you can see this is an U wave. And here we sometimes say, use a word, unbelievable, means U wave is unbelievable. You can see the ST segment is depressed. It is depressed. This is a downsloping, and this is U wave which is inverted. And this, if you get, it is very commonly in a coronary heart disease like acute LAD obstruction or LMC obstruction, a rare finding. But keep it in mind, sometime you can pick up a case of a ischemic heart disease. You can see a T wave followed by a U wave very clearly. This is in case of a hypokalemia. Again in hypokalemia you get almost T wave, U wave and P wave almost coming together. So it is called TUP. So once in a while you can have a T, U and P very close together. That is again seen in a case of hypokalemia. These are all rare conditions where you can have an abnormal T wave. I am running a little faster. Hyperkalemia may be associated with tall T wave, but it is in all the global changes. Means lot of leads will have a tall T wave. In hypokalemia there will be a flat T wave, ST depression with appearance of U wave. Again it is in a global. Hypothermia is also in a global. You will have Osborn wave, that is a J point elevation with a typical Osborn wave. It is again in a global. Hypomagnesium, hypocalcemia will be long QT with the global T wave changes. Hypercalcemia will be with a short QT with a global T wave changes. Brugada syndrome will be seen in a V1, V2, V3 Chord ST segment, sharp downslope with a T wave inversion, characteristic of a Brugada syndrome, we call Brugada sign. In a valence sign in V1, V2, V3, mainly in V2, V3, you will have ST depression, we have T wave inverted or T wave biphasic. In V2, V3, we call as a valence sign. It is a characteristic of again LMC occlusion or a proximal LAD occlusion. There are two types of valence sign, ideally three types of valence sign. In type 1, you will have a T wave biphasic, and in type 2 or we call type B, you will have a T wave inverted only, which is symmetrical inversion and little deep inversion. In a D winter sign, there is an ST depression in V2, V3, V4 with T wave upright. This is characteristic D winter sign, which is again suggestive of LAD occlusion or LMC occlusion. In a pericarditis, there is a global changes almost in majority of all the lids. There is J point elevation with concavity upwards, that is characteristic of a pericarditis. And along with pericarditis, you can have changes in AVR like PR segment elevation or depression with ST segment depression and T wave inversion. This is in case of a pericarditis. We'll be showing you further when we do ST mimetics and ST equivalence. In ARVD, we get one small wave which is after the S wave. S wave is broad. We call that as an epsilon wave. It is mainly seen in a V1. It is again a genetic disorders where the right ventricle is abnormal. It produces lot of arrhythmias. So it is called arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia. And this can produce VTVF, polymorphic VT, and person can have a sudden cardiac death. If you pick them early in Brugada and in ARVD, you can advise them for ICT and you can prevent sudden cardiac death. So do remember all these conditions. We'll show you some of the ECG. This is calcium imbalance, hypercalcemia, hypocalcemia. Here QT prolongation. Here QT is short with T wave changes may be seen. This is potassium imbalance, hyperkalemia, and this is hypokalemia. Here T wave will become flat, U wave appearance. Here T wave will become taller and taller. This will be sine wave. PR interval will disappear because P wave disappears. PR prolongation, QRS complex widening, and sine wave appearance. I've already explained before. This is epsilon wave. You can see a QRS complex. There is a S wave which is widened, and then you got this notch here. This is epsilon wave, and then there is a T wave inversion. This is characteristic of an epsilon wave in a case of a ARVD, and this ARVD is arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia, and these people are more prone to develop VTVF and sudden cardiac death. And T wave inversion is seen in V1 to V3. So you can have a T wave inversion seen in V1 to V3, and there is a prolonged S wave in with the upstroke, S wave prolongation with a S upstroke, and this is seen in a V1 to V3, characteristic of a ARVD. When you see a J point elevation with a typical wave, this typical wave, this is called Osborn wave, and this is a J point elevation. We'll show you in a other. You can see here, this is a J point, and then this is an elevation of that particular wave. This is called typical Osborn wave, which you will see in a chest slits, and that is a characteristic V3 to V6. You can see again a J point, and this is an Osborn wave with T wave inversion. So that is characteristic of a hypothermia. Characteristic of hypothermia. You can see here typical Osborn wave. This also you can see in hypercalcemia. Certain medications raise intracranial pressure, and once in a while in a normal variant, but most commonly seen in a hypothermia. Do keep it in mind. So this is a typical Osborn wave. You can see this nice Osborn wave, very clear cut, typical Osborn wave, very nice. This is giant Osborn wave. While ST segment, you can see a chord ST segment with a sharp downsloping with T wave inversion. This is type A variety. You can see a type A variety, clear cut, type A variety in V1, V2. While if you see a ST segment like this, This is saddleback appearance. And when you get this, this is type B, or we call as type 2 variety. And this is seen in a Brugada. And they are also more prone to develop a cardiac arrhythmias like ventricular tachycardia, polymorphic ventricular tachycardia, ventricular fibrillation, and they can have sudden cardiac death. So do keep this in mind. This is again showing you a sharp chord ST segment with T-wave inversion, again in case of a Brugada syndrome. So I end my lecture here. I think this will be helpful to you. We'll see you other day with other ECGs.